But
Don't let me get me.
so
I'm a
we're
hazard
gonna go
to
on. We're gonna go on.
myself. So irritating. Don't want to be my friend no more. I want to be somebody else. That was so beautiful and on key that we're going to get a copyright strike for that.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so on to the next. One of my favorite points, because it just shows you how crazy the 90s was. They were a little weird.
Drum roll, please. What is it?
It was the fact that the Backstreet Boys,
yes,
a band, were re-envisioned as superheroes and made into toys for Burger King. They all had
what
different
a time
abilities.
To be alive. Could you imagine McDonald's having a Kanye West action figure with like
I
don't know.
It would be no. I mean even now, going back to Burger King.
Burger King is not afraid of doing strange marketing tactics, a la the Burger King Xbox games from the mid 2000s. But the Backstreet Boys, yes, as toys. Okay. I mean, who were they trying to get? Teenage girls to get Happy Meals?
I don't know.
What was the goal of that one?
I had them all.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
And it's not like your sister wanted them. You wanted them.
That's a fact. I liked it. And, just because I'm sure there's people going, that's a lie. Here's some pictures. They aren't lies.
Yeah, it's real. Otherwise,
they're weird.
They're not lies. They're weird.
Yes. I like it. Yeah, it didn't even come to me until like just a couple years ago how weird that was. Like they weren't even just the Backstreet Boys. They were made into superheroes. They had super abilities. If I remember correctly,
I don't know what any of them were.
Brian had the super strength of like sports and was really good at throwing like basketballs really far.
Yeah, who wouldn't want that?
It's weird, but I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a bunch of kind of stuff like that. There was, Beanie Babies at McDonald's, which that was more reasonable. That
was the most reasonable thing they could have done. Beanie Babies were, what could you even compare them to nowadays? Like, what's popular for kids to collect?
Nothing compares to that level, but
and truly, it's not even just a kids thing. It was across the board. I mean, I remember, I had to spend a lot of times in hospitals with my family when I was younger through other. I'm not going to talk about it specifically, but I had to. The gift shops there, and this is the late 90s, early 2000s. The gift shops, Beanie Babies, the actual ones, and then like off-brand ones, and then they would be, again, like you said, at McDonald's, you couldn't get away from them, man. They were everywhere.
Yeah.
And on eBay, they're fetching crazy commanding prices. It's insane.
Yeah. Are you talking about now or then?
Now.
Oh, okay. Well,
the collector market for Beanie Babies is still big. And even back then, yeah, it was huge.
When eBay first surfaced.
Yes, because eBay was a 90s creation.
Beanie Babies were going for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.
And this is 30 years ago, guys. So you got to put it in perspective. So it was probably worth multiple thousands of dollars. So yeah, what a time to be alive, guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. And
yes.
Yeah, it was like 25 years ago, I would say. So it was what a time to be alive. Guess what? I still have all my Beanie Babies. I do nothing with them.
Yes, but he still has them. Do they have the tags on them still?
Yes.
Nice.
They're on a shelf at my dad's. Here's a photo. There you go. And I just don't know what to do with them. Some of them are worth money.
But you just don't have the heart to sell them, or?
Oh no, I would sell them in a second.
Okay.
I will sell out and sell them. That's what they were. That's was the idea behind it. When my dad was buying them back in the day, he enjoyed the chase. Of course, who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Going from McDonald's to McDonald's, going from store to store, getting rare ones, special ones, you know, you name it. But it was an investment. That's what people thought, you know, and even though some of them,
they're comparable to Funko Pops. That's it. Perfect example. Everyone loves those things. I don't like
look
Funko
that up.
Pops. No, I just thought of it. Like right on. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're definitely comparable to Funko Pops, but still not even quite, you know. And when I say not quite, it's still not, you know, like that's just the closest thing we have today to it. But this was everybody.
Yeah, everybody did,
and
like
they
them.
Needed them all. I can't think of anything like that anymore.
Pokemon, gotta catch them all.
You needed them all, and it was everybody involved with it. The young, old, middle-aged, you name it, men, women, didn't matter. Everybody loved it. Yes. And I just don't know. I guess it was a special time to be alive. And that is another reason that the 90s is the best decade ever. Fight me. You would kick my ass. I'm just saying. Yeah, so here's some movies. You can see some of them.
Well, one thing that I don't think we
shoulder
talked about in the other episode or at all, really, but these are two movies from the 90s. Two of my favorite films of all time. Toy Story 1 and 2 defined not only the mid to late 90s for me, but my whole childhood. Oh my God. This one, where are we at? 2 came out right in 99 in November. It was right at the end of the decade. Such a great franchise, guys. I had to throw it in here. And these two are the best ones, the best of the series.
For sure. I mean, it's that those are good ones. I wore my copy of the first Toy Story on VHS.
You have it with you? Oh, you said you wore it out.
I wore it out.
I did the same thing. It was stuck in the VCR. I had to take frequent trips to my grandpa's house because he would always take it apart for us and fix it, put it back together. Ruined a lot of tapes in the old VCR. Yeah, guys, they didn't last like DVDs do and Blu-rays and stuff. They would get wound up and they get caught in there. You know, it's a tape reel going through. Because if you ever look at a VCR with the top off, that thing goes through a maze to get it to work. It's not just a straight loop.
Oh, interesting. I never knew that.
It's all over. Yeah, go look it up after this. You'll find it very interesting.
Yeah, well, that makes more sense. And why you had to sometimes twist the things to put them back in. You had to twist the things.
Yeah, because it would get loose and whatnot.
But exactly. But Scream, you know, this was I got this from a thrift store. Still a while ago. This was like 2010. I got this from a thrift store. And it's in, you know, decent condition because it was probably only watched a few times. But something that I have watched countless times are these two movies. And even though the box shows it, you know, there's some stuff going on there, some shelfware for sure. I think they'd probably still work. And I used to watch these almost every day, especially
Ace Ventura.
Especially the Mask.
The Mask is my personal favorite of all the Jim Carrey movies of the night. I mean, there was just something so funny, iconic. When I was a kid, I just loved the character. Brandon and I were both the Mask for Halloween. Wait, were you?
No.
Oh, he was something else. Anyway, I was the. You know what? Fine, Brandon. I won't cut it out. Okay, I'll leave it in there. Yes, I was the Mask for Halloween at one point.
Interesting.
And it looked hilarious because
fact.
I had like the adult size like mask, but on like my
little,
like 3-foot body.
Yeah, they didn't make kid sizes in the 90s for anybody.
You were
wondering.
wearing an adult mask.
Yeah,
that's
they
what
made the
normal
costume
was.
For kids,
but not.
But they
mask.
weren't making any masks for kids. That's a relatively new thing. And of course, you know, this is not our Christmas episode yet, but the Santa Claus as well, you know. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff though. I mean, it was just so good. And being that Lucas and I are so very nostalgic and such big, you know, like movie fans, it's just it would be hard to name everything, but you know, my first experience with Scream 2 was awesome. You know, the character I was playing at the beginning of this wasn't exactly true to my actual self, because I wasn't seen
a true historical representation.
No, I had seen Scream 2 in 97. And I feel like I've told this story before, but maybe it was just in our previous recording of this.
Well, you might as well tell it again.
Yeah, you know, if I've told this story to you guys already,
he apologizes.
You know, I apologize, but I'm going to do this a lot over the coming months and years, so you better buckle up,
get used to
Sally. So yeah, I knew my cousins were watching Scream 2 on pay-per-view later in the night, and I really wanted to watch it with them, and they would not let me. And I don't think it was so much because of my age. I was 5.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That's crazy. Crazy. Yeah. I wasn't yet 6. And
before you're 6, you're 5. So that checks out.
Yeah. Maybe I was, it doesn't even matter. I might've been 6, but
I'm just busting your balls.
Because it was on pay-per-view and it came out, I think, in the summer of 97. So I don't know when it would have been on pay-per-view. So it checks out that
pay-per-view was not just for sports events. It was for movies back in the day.
No, and it was very expensive.
Yes, it was. Oh boy.
And you only had it for the length of the amount of time of the movie.
Yep, that
was it. When it was done, it was done. It's over.
You're done, baby.
As far as I remember, you didn't even have the ability to fast forward or rewind. So
yeah, I can't remember the specifics to tell you the truth, but
you press play on it and it played, and
that's it.
You watched it. I don't know. But anybody wants to call me out on that if I'm wrong, comment below and let me know. But yeah, so they were gonna watch Scream 2. I knew I was not invited. I did everything with my cousins. They lived right next door. So I felt left out, and I pleaded with my mom, and she was like, yeah, you can watch it. I don't care. And so I went over there and I watched it with them, much to their dismay, I'm sure. But yeah. But I'll never forget that. That was my first real interaction with horror movies. And that's sort of where the love kind of started as well. And then the next year was Halloween H2O, which was my cousins again.
That was a monumental moment for Brandon in his Michael Myers career.
It was because I then started watching all the other Halloweens from that point forward. But yeah, so I became a Scream fan in 97, and then I became a Halloween fan in 98. And that has a lot to do with my cousins, whether they liked it or not. But shout out to Brooke and Ashley.
Shout out.
You're probably not watching this, but you know. And then eventually Andrea. She was the Halloween H2O one. Yeah, so that was fun. And there was just a lot of good stuff from the 90s. Still some of my favorite movies of all time to this day. And I would say that
decade for film, for sure.
It really was. And I don't think that has to do with nostalgia.
It's a great era for comedy, to tell you the truth.
Yep. 100%.
I think that's why Jim Carrey was so popular. He really defined a lot of that comedy. And there's a lot of copycats of his style too. You know what I mean? He really did dominate that sphere. And of course, Brandon's he's like a Jim Carrey expert for sure.
I try.
Yes.
Yeah, I love Jim Carrey, and I watched his movies all the time. I still watch them to this day, not all the time.
Well, also something from the 90s
when I want to.
That was really cool was 90s Tim Burton. Remember how good he used to be compared to how he is now?
Yep.
Good God.
Yep. 80s and 90s Tim Burton.
Yes.
Both good. But it was late 80s, so it qualifies.
It bleeds
and
over.
I'm sorry?
It bleeds over, kind of like the early
over.
2000s for me. Yeah.
There was some good Tim Burton. It was like the 90s was like his decade, really.
Yeah. And, I mean, that's Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, that was such an impressionable movie for so many people our age. And I think it's still pretty popular with younger people. I would think people like it, right? It's not just
still very popular. We do have to point out the fact, though, that he didn't direct that.
Yes, it was directed by Henry Selick, who directed James and the Giant Peach, who was selected to direct that movie while he made Batman Returns because of James and the Giant Peach.
Right. So it's very it is a Tim Burton movie for all
intents and purposes.
All intents and purposes. I have to make that point known because somebody will love to point that out.
Yeah.
To be like, that's not Tim Burton movie. And it's like, well, it was his story. All of the characters came from his drawings.
His drawing, his poem.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's all based on a poem that he made
came from his brain
beforehand. Yeah.
Right. It'd be like if Frankenweenie was directed by somebody else, which would be weird, but if it was, it would still be a Tim Burton movie, and he produced it too. So it came from him,
his vision.
And, exactly. And I was trying to think the other day, what was the last like great Tim Burton movie? And without looking it up, I want to say Sleepy Hollow. I think
really you didn't like Corpse Bride.
I thought it was okay, but
I actually like it. I think it's good.
It was the most boring 45-minute movie I think I've ever seen in my life. But
maybe I just like it nostalgically because I was so excited to have something similar to Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
It was, I looked at it almost like a spiritual successor, but then you watch it and it is a different story. And it was great because it was bookended the Tim Burton 2005 summer extravaganza of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in July of 2005, and then September of 2005 was Corpse Bride.
Interesting. Well, yes. Bringing it back to Sleepy Hollow.
That movie is genuinely good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I would make, the point I was making was that his last great movie was in the 90s.
Okay, yeah. Like a great, amazing, extravagantly done movie.
Yeah, like literally just great. Everything about it's great. It's sort of undeniably great. And yeah, so there was a lot of great stuff. Mrs. Doubtfire,
of course, Robin Williams in the 90s in general.
Yep, Robin Williams was one of those people that his height of fame came before Jim Carrey, and then they kind of coincided with each other. And so there was a whole lot of
I'm
really
gonna say this
stuff.
I just noticed through our entire conversation today, it seems that the prominent factor in everything is pop culture and media related, wouldn't you say? Other than like Y2K, what other things were the 90s really known for other than its pop culture stuff? The 90s was a time of economic ease. It was stable. That's why movies like Office Space and on the other end of the spectrum, something like Fight Club, take that 9-to-5 job as like a prison almost. They mentally have to escape it. that's where that office comedy genre came from in the 90s, was like that economic stability. It was something that I've heard in like a documentary recently. And I just kind of noticed, I guess, that everything we talked about today is like basically media related. I mean, we generally kind of go that way anyway, but what would you think about that? Do you think that this era was defined by that? Why is that why we like it so much? Is that why it's so nostalgic? Because we get connected to these properties?
Well, ultimately, it's nostalgic just because it was the decade that we grew up in, and everybody feels
full
that way
disclaimer
about
for
the
anyone
decade.
who couldn't tell at this point.
Yeah, it was exactly. If you couldn't tell, thank you. But
like, it's not that like Tamagotchis and Furbies were like this amazing technology. The introduction of the Tiger handheld electronic wrist games. Like, yeah, it was
Tamagotchi.
It was bad.
Tamagotchi, I'll give you no, but Furbies were groundbreaking. 100%.
All right,
100%.
Tune in for part 2 and 3 where we have the epic Furby debate.
No, they had the ability. What was so amazing about them? They had the ability to respond to the words that you spoke to them. I mean, how amazing is that? They came with a little booklet with them that you could say this and say this and say this to them, and they would hear you and they would be able to respond.
Yeah, I guess they did start the era of talking toys and stuff, because like the talking parrot outside of KB Toys, was the staple.
It talked and it sort of learned from you a little bit, and it had its own language, and it was massively groundbreaking. And so much so that
after midnight or put it in the microwave.
So much so that people started tearing them apart. I remember seeing on like Dateline, Dateline NBC and 2020 and all this stuff, that they were tearing them apart because they thought that there was cameras put in there by the government.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was a real
this is a real thing.
People were very nervous about it because they did have a little sensor on their head.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a camera. It was just a sensor, but it looked like it could be a camera. And they assumed that they were watching people. And
it turns out to be false.
Is somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but I still have it somewhere. It was pink and gray.
Okay, nice color combo.
Yeah. It was like gray, but it had like a pink stomach. But yeah, so those were good times. And there was Furby toys at McDonald's, which was cool. I also I have all of those too.
Yeah, the little plastic ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, so it was a time of a lot of fun. But going back to your question, people always feel nostalgic for the decade that they grew up in, and
of course.
Because of that, that's obviously why we have strong feelings to the 90s. But that being said, there are some really objectively great things about the 90s, and it's not just the media. TV shows were great, sure, movies were great, music was great. It's not just that though. I mean, there was the thing like the food. They got it weirdly experimental in the 90s with green ketchup and blue ketchup.
Lord. And purple ketchup. And I remember I wanted to get it. My mom did not get it for me because she said, you're not going to like it. And I said, well, why wouldn't I? It's ketchup. It's purple. It's edible. It looks
you already
weird.
Know what ketchup tastes like, right?
Exactly. So the commercials and, there was that weird gross out humor of the 90s with like the garbage pail kids and stuff like that. And, the commercials are just aimed at like a kid, if I remember correctly, like pouring ketchup on there, and like the mom like freaking out, or like the sister freaking out because it's so disgusting. And here's what it is disgusting, because there's that disassociation with the color and the taste, and it's just ugh.
Yeah, 100%. It was nasty.
Go-Gurt.
Go-Gurt, correct.
Yogurt.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Like I showed earlier, 3D
Dunkaroos, 3D
Dunkaroos.
Crystal. Oh no, that was the 80s, right? Crystal Pepsi we established.
I think so.
There was new Coke in the 90s, right? Was that when they changed the formula and it was trash and Bill Cosby like tried to get everybody to drink it and it was really bad? And then they brought it back to regular Coke, and that's why Coke says Coca-Cola Classic now. And yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I don't know if it was the 90s.
Okay.
But again, they were very experimental in the 90s, so it would have been the time for it. And but I got the green ketchup. My mom, very much like you, told me that I was not going to like it. And yeah, that was a fact. Yes, I did not like it. Tasted like normal ketchup. But your mind like tells you something completely different, which is 100%. Funny too, because I had green ketchup, my favorite color. Lucas had purple ketchup, his favorite color, and it still wasn't enough to save it, unfortunately. But the commercials, the commercials made it very, very appealing, just like the Airheads commercials made it very appealing as well.
Dude, I mean, as a kid, just seeing someone eat an Airhead and turn it into the Airhead logo and just fly through the roof.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Well, not funny, even just that, though. The rolling it into a ball and bouncing it around. That's the very first thing I tried to do when I got an Airhead for the first time.
Yeah, until it hits the ground and then you get dog hair all over it.
Just stayed there. Didn't bounce. I was very disappointed.
Yes.
But it was like the movie Flubber. That's what it reminded me of.
Oh,
that's probably
God.
what it was based off of too. Those
that's
commercials. Funny. Yeah. So there was a lot of lies.
Yes.
And a lot of things that happened in the 90s transferred over to today, where they have to say does not actually do this, like in the commercial. Like if you see a toy helicopter flying around on its own, it'll say does not actually fly. Yeah,
Buzz Lightyear,
in the 90s,
not
they lied to us.
Toy.
Yeah, and I'm sure there probably was some lawsuits back in the day as well, where people were like, these things don't actually do this, because they didn't tell you that they didn't. So, you know, in all fairness.
Well, in all fairness, you should have used your brain. But continuing on, Brandon,
this was the day and age, though, of Furbies that were, talking,
big brothering you.
But
yeah.
So you touched on it a little bit, but actually, before we move on, I have to also mention Austin Powers. That was a phenomenon.
Austin Powers
phenomenon.
The first two were huge in that time. The third one was trash. But for the time period, 1 and 2, oh my! I was probably 8 years old when I saw the first movie. We bought it on VHS. My mom and dad thought it was absolutely hilarious. My dad thought the James Bond references were entertaining, you know, and I thought that the potty humor was just funny. And you look back at it, and it's a genuinely well-made comedy. It's a very good movie.
Yeah.
Second one's still funny, but I mean the first one is like a genuinely well-made movie.
100%. And it's a wonderful snapshot of the 90s as well. It's trying to be a snapshot almost of the 60s, but it really captures
place
the 90s.
In the 90s. It works out very well. I think specifically capturing the 90s would be that scene when Vanessa was, telling him to get with the times. So he's like messing around with the shoe and he gets the powder on his face and he tries to put the CD on the record player. Yeah. And he watches the fall of the Berlin Wall, and it's like, this is a very good snapshot of that time period for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's great. And
it also showed you modern dental care of the 90s.
Sure.
With a full range of products.
Yes,
that are actually spy equipment.
Like your dad, that's funny. I actually forgot about that until you just said it. I also appreciated the James Bond parody that was going on as well. The first time I had seen it,
it goes over your head.
That, but as time went on and I became a massive James Bond fan, and then that was just another thing that I enjoyed about it. But a year did not pass by that Halloween came along that you would not see 50 Ghostfaces or 50 Austin Powers, and I was both.
Yes, I was Austin. That's the Halloween costume we shared was Austin Powers, and I'm assuming you were Michael Myers at some point as well.
Several times, but that was
yeah. So of course. But I do remember of that time period. I was always Woody for Halloween in the 90s, like for years in a row. And every year I would try to perfect the costume. But you're a kid, it's fun to do, but in reality, it never is. You're never gonna look like a CG character. And it's the fun of being a kid on Halloween. But yes, Ghostface. I remember literally getting sick of seeing Ghostface as I was the same character for 5 years in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
they were sick of you. I had a moment, and we'll get deeper into this in a few weeks from now when we have the Halloween special.
The Halloween Spooktacular.
Ooh. I like. Yeah, but I was out as Ghostface one time, and another Ghostface handed me candy.
That's awesome.
I said trick or treat. That's the 90s in a nutshell right there.
There you go. Look at me. I'm in a nutshell. How did I get into this nutshell?
Exactly. And
you got the Austin Powers reference, please.
Of course I did.
Okay, thank God.
Which is why I was gonna go and say that "Yeah, baby" was something that was said all the time,
and not just by Caitlyn Jenner.
No, but
Impressionist.
She continues it on to this day. She keeps the memory alive.
Yes.
And then, what's your favorite scary movie? Was one of those things where it was said so many times that people got
literally
sick of
Scary Movie 1 and 2 are legitimately well-made parody movies.
Oh yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. No.
Yeah, they're totally radical. I love them.
Yeah. Da bomb.
Groovy, baby. Yeah, it is.
Both of them are da bomb. So you mentioned this, you touched on this a little bit earlier.
Ever so slightly.
I want to take up the magnifying glass on this, and that is Y2K. And that was at the end of the decade, and it was
it took the whole world by storm. Essentially,
it was scary.
People thought that the changing over of the decade on these digital clocks was going to cause catastrophic events in terms of everyone's bank accounts, in terms of how the world was operating. Basically, they thought that there was going to be a complete failure in the communication services, essentially is what it was.
Everything electronic.
Yeah. So people were buying all the bottled water they could shove up their ass, preparing for this catastrophic. Nothing happened. The clocks turned over on your Windows 98 Millennium Edition computer that you played pinball on, and everything was well in the world. So it was nothing.
I just thought of something. Remember Minecraft?
Well, yeah.
Or not Minecraft, Minesweeper. Minesweeper. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. I just had to say
those
that
built-in games.
98 Windows computer, Minesweeper. It's fun.
Those were the times, baby. Those were the times. Yeah.
But
Y2K, what a short but fun and strange-lived event.
Yeah, it wasn't fun at the time.
Well, my dad worked at a bank at the time. He knew it was all bullshit, so we never cared. I never understood all the hubbub about it. But
I remember you saying that.
I was still very young at the time too, so it's not like you have
I remember
time.
You saying that before. You
said that we talked about it.
I don't buy it because everybody was afraid of it, including government officials. So
yeah, I don't care. Don't buy it.
Your dad might have had.
Don't buy what I'm selling.
Your dad might have had a theory that it was bullshit, but nobody knew. And
so his theory turned out to be correct. So we didn't care.
Correct. Yes. So yeah, that makes sense afterwards. But this was like something that was worried about by everybody. You know how
worldwide
we experienced this in some of the younger people's generation with 2012 with
that was stupid.
December 21st, 2012. This was that on steroids. Like, no, you would never hear like a political candidate or like the president talk about 2012. That wasn't that big. Right. But political candidates were talking about Y2K and what they were going to do about it.
Platform issue to vote on.
It absolutely could have been. And because it seemed like it was for all intents and purposes, it was going to be the end of the world. Not
Right.
because the world was actually going to end, but because there was going to, it was just going to be power failure, massive power failure. And we were going to lose everything, telephone communications and internet. And people were going to go and basically just go crazy and start looting and, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was, I remember just sitting at the breakfast table with my dad and my grandma. And it was like it was like December 26th or something like that. So, January 1st was right on the horizon. And I just had a moment where I was just sitting there like, am I going to die?
Right.
Like, is this really the end of the world? And so it was a little bit of a worry for me.
Well, yeah, as a little kid with no context, I mean,
yeah, there was, it was I have to say this as well, that it was a bug. It was called the Y2K bug.
Yeah,
it was going
right.
to,
actually,
it was going to be,
say that last part, I probably would have forgot completely about it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it was, it would show up in they thought it would show up in emails, and people would unknowingly open it, and it would become this whole thing. I know, onto the last bullet point here, I know that you feel a little bit different about this. I don't think entirely. No, or maybe you don't. I just thought that you did. Deny.
Let's find out.
Nickelodeon was the greatest invention since sliced bread.
Oh yeah, since sliced green or orange bread. Yeah, there's absolutely no contest of Nickelodeon in the 90s. And I am very fortunate and happy that the camaraderie we share, that you were not a Cartoon Network guy.
No,
nothing against them, but they were always a little weird to me. How could you prefer Cartoon Network over Nickelodeon? And if you were a rich kid who had the Disney Channel, oh, I wasn't talking to you. I'd have no sympathy for you.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about it. It was a totally different landscape for children's television, because that's what you had. And even then, at night, you had Nick at Night, you had Toonami, you had Adult Swim. So you never really got that dedicated whole children's channel. Yes.
Toonami and Adult Swim were Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying I'm talking of the three, the big three kids networks. On the internet, or on the internet, on cable at the time. But yeah, Nickelodeon was the best. And I have to say, I mean, there was Angry Beavers, Ah Real Monsters, Doug,
Rugrats.
Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, Rugrats.
That was actually not Nickelodeon. That
it wasn't?
No, that was what was it? Was it CBS
Are you sure?
Or ABC? Yeah, okay. I don't usually do this during the show, but I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, yeah, he's gonna look it up. But
yeah, so continue.
As far as all the litany of all these shows on the classic Nickelodeon, I have to say Rugrats was number one. There was just this wholesome quality about these babies discovering the world through their own lens in this comedic way, and it was so well written with great adult humor. It really stacks up today. And I remember every episode, basically almost shot for shot in some of these cases. It was just the best. Had the spin-offs were all pretty decent too. I think this was 2000s, as we have talked about before.
So it doesn't matter then.
Like Nick Gas was really cool. Slime Time Live. I always wanted to be on, but yeah, Nickelodeon, unmatchable.
Yeah, there was, and to answer your question, it was PBS. So,
that's all right. Well, close enough. Whatever.
But I think it would be on in the daytime, around Arthur and stuff like that.
Okay. But as far as 90s Nickelodeon nostalgia, I think there's one thing that you have to talk about before we start to bring this episode to a close.
Well, also there's some other shows though too. So some things that also have to be mentioned is Legends of the Hidden Temple and all that. And
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark? Yep. Some other really awesome game shows as well. I don't remember them all. There was that one with Summer Sanders, and it was like it had like a big purple head, and they would like the head had like they had to like form like what the words were missing on the head. And so that was really awesome. I watched that all the time. But yeah, Rugrats, like you said, Hey Arnold.
Rocko's Modern Life as well.
Rocko's Modern Life. Earlier. Yep. There was so many awesome stuff. But I was gonna say this when we first started as well, that I've known a couple Cartoon Network people, but the ones that really baffle me are the Disney people. I had Disney, and I never still was not a Disney person.
I didn't see the appeal of it. I love the movies, but the network, no, Nickelodeon.
Yeah, no. I mean, some of the shows, I don't even remember what shows were on at that time, but they were. Oh, forget about Disney. How about Clarissa Explains It All, or Alex Mack, or remember Alex Mack?
Yes.
She would become a Capri Sun, and she'd go and go around, like she had the ability to become liquid and form somewhere else. And yeah, I mean, there was a lot of awesome stuff. But yeah, so I mean, we could go on about this for years, for sure. But what were you gonna say
about?
I don't know. You're like, before we bring this episode to a close, we have to mention.
Oh, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because I remember we went on a whole tangent about it the last time.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, yeah. Unless there's anything really other to cover about it, other than it was like the scariest children's show next to like Tales from the Crypt, I guess.
Well. By the way, the Summer Sanders show was called Figure It Out.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll talk about Are You Afraid of the Dark? Are you kidding me? I love it. It was amazing. The thing about Nickelodeon was that it didn't talk down to kids in its programming. It was treated kids just as there should be treated.
That's why there's so much hidden adult humor in these shows, by the way, you guys. Yeah. You don't even have to hunt for it. It's just in the open, like flat out. And it's funny because you watch it while we've been talking for a while.
So long that it became the opening to Dr. No.
Yeah.
Anybody that gets that reference, you are my new favorite person.
So let Brandon know in the comment section below. Give us some engagement.
Please. But it looked just like that at the beginning of Dr. No. As the music plays. Yeah, so there is a lot of adult humor. Yes. And a lot of these shows they've even brought back because of the appeal, I would assume. Oh my God. Even Rocko's Modern Life had, you know,
I told you I don't have peace and quiet here. That is going to be edited out. Now continue where you were at the beginning, whatever.
Well, not the beginning,
obviously, but I'm gonna have to wrap things up soon because now I'm not gonna have any peace and quiet now that all my family members are home.
Oh, great! I was just about to say that even Rocko's Modern Life had like a Netflix show a few years back. So yeah,
see, I knew about the Rugrats one and the Animaniacs reboot recently. The Animaniacs one, which we didn't talk about that. Animaniacs. Phenomenal. Really good show. Very surprisingly modern. I think that's why they brought that one back. But there's been a 90s resurgence with a lot of these shows, but I didn't know about you just said Rocko on Netflix. Okay.
It was like a special, like an hour-long special.
Oh, I thought you meant like they made like a new series.
No, they probably will though on Paramount Plus. In all honesty,
Okay.
but there's a
Paramount
lot of
is Nickelodeon. Yeah, that I forgot. Oh, dude, all the old this is the thing about it. So the old school Nickelodeon VHS tapes were all orange, and there was the announcer, the nine, because every decade has a different movie announcer voice. Coming soon to Paramount Pictures.
Yeah,
and it would be the thing for all the Nickelodeon stuff. God, I had all the Rugrats VHS tapes, guys. That was the one that I ruined. I ruined those tapes as well as Toy Story. But yeah, man. Yeah, you just took me back, Brandon. Sorry, you just took me back to.
I don't think that I would have remembered that they were orange without you mentioning.
Yes, they're all orange. They're all orange,
too.
And they all start with the Paramount logo. And coming soon to own on video cassette.
That's funny.
It would be the new Rugrats, and then Tommy be like, "Step in with your diapers," and then they'd be like, "For an all new adventure with the baby." I don't know how I feel about this, Will. The most horrible. Guys, I can do impressions. I don't know what all those were, but you get the picture.
Yeah, those are hard to do. Rugrats. I need to check
compliments
out
to
Rugrats.
Like the basically all female cast of the Rugrats voice actresses. So my props to you ladies.
Yeah, it's awesome. I need to check out that new Rugrats because
it's decent. The animation looks a little sterile, but it's funny. They recreate a lot of the older scenes and they use the same sound effects and visual cues. Yeah, it's not bad. It's pretty cool. Like, I remember it's pretty modern, but the only character that's pretty different is Grandpa Lou, and all the kids are all the same, but the adults are all different, and it is died. Oh, they are.
I assume.
Well, it's so older. Jarring to hear the differences. I can't hear I can't get used to the adult voices. They're weird.
Interesting.
But this video isn't about the Rugrats specifically.
They're just significantly older.
Possibly. No, they're legitimately new voice actors. I looked it up.
Okay. No, I mean so old that they can't even do it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but
because they were guys. Those ones were guys.
Okay.
And obviously, those were the male characters. The adults were male characters, except for one, I think, or maybe two. There was another, Angelica's mom, but I need to check it out because without Rugrats back in the day, I never would have known what Hanukkah was. So
Hanukkah. You have to when you say it. And they had the whole Torah episode. Yeah, I remember that one. That's
up in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
So it was we will bring this to a close in just a moment. I do have to just gush about Are You Afraid of the Dark, though. We went on a hard tangent, but Are You Afraid of the Dark had an amazing opening that still scares me to this day. Yeah.
That's supposed to be a match that's being lit.
Oh, I got it. That was the last part of it, right? So it starts off with and you see like the lake, like the boat hitting up against the dock, and the swinging, and like the attic where there's like a clown up there, and you hear and like cracking of floorboards, and oh man, that is so good. Still,
I know I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
The Ghastly Grinner episode, that is one that still sticks with me to this day as well. Where it was like a comic book villain, basically the Joker, comes into the real world, and there's blue shit coming out of his mouth, and he's laughing hysterically, and he's like infecting other people with blue shit coming out of their mouth and laughing hysterically. And God, it makes an impression on you. It's absolutely terrifying. Yeah. There's a few of them that did, but that one more so than anything else. And it's I don't know. No other new Are You Afraid of the Darks have ever captured the beauty and the magic of the original.
I've never even seen any other of the spin there other than the original. I don't know what they're like, and to be fair, I never will probably, but
there was one that came out only a couple years after the original series, and I watched it still thinking it was the original series, so I'm bet that you did as well.
Oh, most likely.
Yeah, they were just, some of the kids were different. Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about, but there's been one within the last few years.
Yeah, like decades later.
And it's changed, and it's not what I'm looking for. They should do a movie like Goosebumps has done movies and stuff.
Right.
And Goosebumps, whatever. Goosebumps is fine, but usually you're an Are You Afraid of the Dark person or a Goosebumps person. Nothing against R.L. Stein, you know.
Yeah, nothing against them, but I prefer Are You Afraid of the Dark. Just again, it's the Nickelodeon Association, I would say.
Yeah,
it was always there, you know, because I was always watching Nickelodeon. Always, there was nothing else you needed to watch, you know.
100%.
Before I became addicted to G4, but that is another episode for another time.
And in conclusion,
yes, Brandon,
I'm gonna eat a chocolate frog.
Oh, nice. Let's see your wizard card.
I know. Let's see. Oh, gosh. La 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 la
Pee-wee.
La 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 la. Devlin Whitehorn. Not again.
Again. Famous Quidditch player. Who cares?
Devlin Whitehorn created the Nimbus Racing Broom Company.
Oh, wow.
He helped design Nimbus brooms, which revolutionized the game of Quidditch. A master flyer, he is a Quidditch fan who enjoys watching and playing the game whenever he can. Well, you, Devlin Whitehorn, ooh.
Now you see him with the broom. Now you don't.
And he's gone. Why is he gone, Lucas?
Well, you can't expect him to hang around all day, can you?
You're right. I
mean, I got about 6 of him anyway, so.
Exactly, right? That's why I said not again. I've never had one of these before. You know, I had to be like the movie. Oh, I tried to bite it and it jumped away.
Well, they only got one good jump in to begin with.
Oh, that's so weird. Okay, I caught it.
Here, eat this. It'll help.
Tastes like a Crunch bar.
I know, that's all it is. Wow, what a perfect time to end the episode, because it says your Mac will go to sleep soon unless you plug it into a power outlet. Literally, like legitimately perfect ending. So, Brandon, is there anything else that you want to conclude 90s nostalgia with?
Nothing other than the 90s is the best decade ever. Deal with it.
Yes, deal with it. You know when fast food was really good? In the 90s, dude. 90s Burger King and 90s Wendy's was on point. 90s KFC, like it was like legitimate real food. I don't know what happened throughout the years.
Yeah.
I'm only saying that because I'm about to eat some KFC soon, but yeah.
Awesome. Pop was better because they used the
real sugar.
Corn syrup.
Is that, the high fructose corn syrup. We live in a different generation
corn
now.
Syrup. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't use that anymore. Now they just use some other type of corn syrup that's not high fructose.
Yeah, who the hell knows these days?
Yeah, who knows?
There's something in the water or in the pop. But anyway, in conclusion, Brandon.
Thank you for watching.
As always, everybody. See, we're
very much
along
appreciate
the same lines.
it.
Yes. So thanks for
watching Friends.
Thanks for taking the time out of your day for watching. Well, it's a cool cup. And guys, tell us, what are you nostalgic for in the 90s? And if you didn't grow up in the 90s, are you happy that 90s fashion at least has come back in the last couple of years? Our music's going to come back soon too. I'm telling you, we're going to make a huge resurgence.
Our shows came back. Our clothing came back. And our music kind of came back. I mean, look at BTS, which is, Korean, pop music, but still it's a boy band. Also, how could I forget One Direction? It's a boy band. So
yes, very 90s.
Boy bands were gone for a while there. So
good for them.
Yeah, exactly. So our music is basically back.
Cool.
But yeah, if you don't feel the same way about the 90s, then what's your favorite decade and why?
Let
us know.
All right, everybody.
We'll start a discussion. But
thanks for watching. Take care.
Yes.
And we got some spooky episodes coming up right around the corner, everybody. It's almost that time. So look forward to some ghostly stories for our spooktacular. It'll be wonderful.
Indeed. Yeah, it'll be exciting.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right. Bye, everyone.